Hey guys, how you doing? We as a species are obsessed with rape of women or anything for that matter that harms women. We as a society, though, don't give much attention to the rape of males by females or other males. Now, I think there are logical reasons as to why we do that. Now, before I start off, I would like to state that I'm not justifying rape of a man or a woman in any shape or form. Explaining the understanding of why people murder does not justify the act. In the same way, I'm merely talking about the motivations for rape from an evolutionary perspective. How rape came to be part of the psyche of humans. Or, in this factor, men. Now, here I am going to talk more about male on female rape. Feminists and the masses have been spouting that rape is about power, and rape is how men as a whole dominate women. Rape is typically defined as the use of force or threat of force to achieve penile vaginal penetration of a woman without her consent. Now, my argument is that rape is not about power. Although power is often used in rape, it's not the reason. Rape is about sex. Now, I've also got to state that evolution, it does not care about feelings or violence. All that matters is the genes pass on, not how it passes on. So, rape is present throughout the animal kingdom and not just in the human species. It's observed in other species including ducks, dolphins, chimpanzees, and even some insects. Orangutans belong to the hominid family that includes humans, chimpanzees, bonobos, and gorillas. They split from the human branch of hominid family about 15 million years ago and are our closest evolutionary relatives after chimpanzees, bonobos, and gorillas. In orangutans, forced sex accounts for half of the observed sexual activity. These forced sexual activities, or rape as we call it, are performed primarily by a subset of males and not all males. The sexual dimorphism in orangutans shows us that they are a tournament species, which tells us that there is minimal paternal care and females look for bigger, stronger males to mate. The males also have their own harem of females similar to silverback gorillas. The evidence accumulated by researchers suggests that male orangutans exist as two distinct morphs or behavioral types. The larger ones are heavier, move slowly, and have little to no difficulty in finding females to mate with. The smaller ones, on the other hand, find it extremely difficult to do so. They, on the other hand, deploy another strategy to make up for it. Their size gives them advantages such as speed and agility. They're a lot faster than other orangutans, and they often turn to the strategy of chasing down a female and forcefully having sex with the female at the time of estrus. These smaller orangutans might not know it, but the sex they force on females is not because they feel good or that they want to oppress females by raping them. They do so because they have limited mating opportunities to pass on their genes. They adopt the forced sex strategy to further their chances of making copies of these genes. Rape or forced sex in orangutans was an adopted strategy, not the primary one. The reason I spoke about orangutans was to show that rape was actually not a form of power to dominate females. It is a strategy adopted by males who have lesser opportunity to find a mate. In humans, females in the late teens and 20s are more commonly targeted than the rest. Coincidentally, human fertility peaks in the early to mid-20s. In India, out of 37,000 cases reported in 2014, 16,000 were of the age between 18 and 30. This is an overrepresentation of females in their most fertile age. And this has been well documented all over the world. This is not conclusive, but does show an inclination for some men to rape women who could potentially be a carrier for their genes. Now, the rapist might not be thinking of this consciously, but he does so either way. It's the same way we copulate because it feels good. But the ultimate end for sex is reproduction. When you say I have sex because it feels good, now that is a proximal motivation. But reproduction is the distal or ultimate motivation. It's the same as sex. We have sex because we feel good, which is the proximal motivation, but the ultimate motivation, which we do not think about, or the ultimate result, is reproduction. Rape could be committed by a subset of human males who possibly do not have the opportunity to mate. It could also be a trait passed on by a minority of men who used rape as a means of reproduction in the past. If rape was about power and not a separate strategy adopted by some males, we would see rape uniformly in all ages, not just when they are fertile. Some might say that women in their 20s are attacked because they are attractive. To those I ask another question: what makes a female attractive to a male? All the attractive traits of a woman have things to do with fertility and good genes, a good hip to waist ratio, smooth skin, symmetrical features, and so on. The basis of attractiveness has something to do with the fertility of the female. This also brings us to the teach men not to rape fiasco. Feminists openly and vehemently claim that all men can rape and they should be taught not to rape. They also claim that rape is normalized. If we do say that all men can rape and rape is normalized, we would have to really ask ourselves why men are murdered by lynch mobs before they even get a chance to defend themselves. If rape was normalized, there would be no dates or courting rituals. Rape would be the norm. There would not be marriages or live-in relationships, only rape and no punishment for said rape because it is normal human behavior. If all men could rape, why would men choose the tougher task of courting and gaining power in order to gain access to females? Women, on the other hand, would have evolved to stop or avoid rape. They would have possibly grown stronger and larger so as to protect themselves if rape was the only thing that existed throughout history. If men were not taught not to rape all these years, rape would not be such a rare phenomenon. Again, I repeat, rape is an alternate strategy adopted by some males in our species. The majority of males despise rape. Getting back to what I said at the start, there could be a logical reason as to why a female victim of rape is more of the society's concern than a male victim. Historically, women who were raped had to incur a certain cost. Women do consider rape as a violation of their bodily autonomy. I believe it's a little more than that. If we take a stroll into the years before abortion and birth control, maybe 10,000 to 20,000 years ago, a woman who was raped and got pregnant had potentially lost 9 months of life sacrificing her body for a child of a man she did not choose. It would have been a biological disaster. She would waste one of her finite chances of a shot at reproduction, her health, and time if the rape resulted in pregnancy. She would also have to wait for a certain period of time before she could try again. All this for a child of a man who had not been vetted by her to obtain the benefits of siring that man's child. It would also mean that she would have to bring up the child on her own without paternal care. No provision, no protection. Our instincts still believe we live in the past, and our reactions are based on it. Now, men also cannot stand male rapists. There's a logical explanation to this as well. The normal course of an attempt at mating would be through courting rituals, dating, showing what you bring to the table in terms of protection and provision. It's a long and tedious song and dance. Rapists, though, through the eyes of these men, are cheating. They skip the courting rituals and get right in front of the line. I believe this could be how our limbic system reads such an act and creates a certain level of hatred towards the men who rape. Think about it. When we see a male rapist, we have this hatred for that man. It's instinct. This couples with our instincts to protect women, and it brings forth anger and hate. On the other hand, a man being raped will not react in the same way psychologically because all that is lost is a few million sperms, and he would not face the same cost as women such as gestation and child rearing. I'm not taking bodily autonomy into consideration because it applies in both cases. Now, but here's the deal though. Times have changed, but our limbic systems haven't caught up. In this day and age, a man stands to lose a lot more if a child is born to the woman who raped him. As can be seen in a case in the United States, a 14-year-old boy had a relationship with a 20-year-old woman. She got pregnant and gave birth to a child. In the legal context, this would be considered as rape, as he was not old enough to give consent and she was an adult. The boy, though, was forced to pay child support. The costs of having a child have swung heavily towards men. The costs and benefits have not completely switched places. The woman still has to undergo gestation, but the provision is forced out of the man by the state, and the protection is also given to them by the state. It's high time the society realized that men have quite a bit to lose too. Men also need to stand up and report if they are raped. The stigma of being a male rape victim can only be erased by us, men. Anyway, that's it for today, guys. Till next time. Cheers.